Thank you. I hand over to Luxembourg Managing Director Gramegna, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Let me start by thanking President Kyriakos for organizing this meeting in a teleconference format and thus anticipating rightly that this meeting would be useful, as it proved to be. Also, thanks to the president of the International Energy Agency, Dr. Birol, who gave a very valuable contribution to our discussions. It is very timely that we have this meeting because the disruption in the markets, in the energy markets that we have seen since the beginning of the conflict have increased. I'm going to focus in my remarks on three items. First, the developments in energy markets. Second, the economic consequences as they are perceived by the market. And third, the policy responses. Even if the conflict would end tomorrow, the consequences of this war that has spread all over the Middle East would stay with us for a longer time. Gas and oil prices are expected to stay high throughout the year, and this is influencing how markets are seeing the developments of inflation and also seeing the broader outlook. About this broader outlook on inflation, markets see that we will have higher inflation ahead during the whole year, but are still expecting a return to the 2% level during next year. In terms of growth, markets also consider that growth will be less than 1% in the euro area due to this ongoing war. And last but not least, obviously, the markets are expecting that interest rates will be higher for government bonds, which in turn means obviously higher borrowing costs for governments. Fortunately, compared to the energy shock that we had in 2022, renewable energy is more in the forefront in many countries. And it was mentioned, and rightly mentioned, that countries like Spain and Portugal that have increased a lot renewable energy are now less hit by the energy shock than they were the last time. But markets could shift rapidly if the consequences of energy disruption become more severe and governments loosen fiscal policy too much. That is why the ESM supports the Commission's call for support measures that are temporary and targeted. Helping vulnerable households can be helpful, but public finances need to remain healthy. The General Escape Clause has provided important flexibility in the past, but using more exemptions to deal with today's pressures could make it harder to return to normal fiscal rules later. It is important to keep the longer-term picture in mind because the credibility in the fiscal framework helps maintain market confidence. In that context, I would like to add that avoiding measures that increase fossil fuel consumption is essential. It is also important not to reverse the progress towards renewable energy that has been made so far. In conclusion, today's discussions were very important and highlighted both the short-term challenges and the long-term choices that Europe faces. The period calls for careful, coordinated, and forward-looking action. In Europe, we are well equipped to address these challenges ahead of us, including the ESM financial instruments available under the current treaty.
Thank you very much.